Good afternoon, family. Thank you for checking out today's video. It is March 18th, 2020. If you're new here, my name is Jonathan, and I created this channel as a way to record my progress as I work towards my goal of achieving a healthy weight. If you do enjoy the videos, make sure that you click the thumbs up button. Also, click on the subscribe button so that you can and the bell icon so you can be alerted to when I go live or post new videos. If you want to join in on the discussion, you can join me during my live streams at 4 p.m. most weekdays. If you don't want to join the live streams and you want to get in touch with me, there is also a link for a Discord channel that we created down below. That's a great place for you guys to come on, introduce yourselves, let me know what your goals are, and all of that fun stuff. Also, down in the description below, there is a link to a Pinterest board. That Pinterest board has some of our family's favorite whole food plant-based meals. If you're looking for ideas or if you're interested in changing to this diet and don't know where to start, that is a great place to get started. Let me switch over to page. I hope everybody had a great evening last night. It was nice to be home, hanging out with the family. We didn't do anything too exciting, but just kind of hung out and relaxed. Got the kids to do a little bit of cleaning, which was nice, so that they could have a sleep anywhere night, which meant that we ended up being up really late with them because they never like to go to bed very early when we do a sleep anywhere night. Last night for dinner, we had, pull this up, meal that we've had in the past. It is, I believe, called, oh, now I got to pull this down so I can tell you what it's called. It is Mary's, I'm sorry, Linda's meatloaf. I think I called it Mary's. So it's Linda's meatloaf, and it is from the Engine 2 cookbook. Both the meatloaf recipe and the recipe for the garlic mashed potatoes, or the sauce that we used on the mashed potatoes, are going to be in our Pinterest link if you are interested in getting the recipe for those. Let me pull this back up. I should have had that in my notes so I didn't have to pull that down. So this is Linda's meatloaf from the Engine 2 cookbook, as well as mashed potatoes on the top there. And then I like to put corn with my mashed potatoes. And then we had a roasted garlic sauce that we mixed in with that as well. It was a great dinner. This was actually my first serving. My second serving was very similar to this, but I just put it into a bowl and mixed it all up to have just like this big mashed potato with loaf and corn and the roasted garlic sauce all mixed together. It was pretty good. I was nervous because there is a tomato sauce on the meatloaf, and I didn't know how that would combine with the garlic sauce, but it was good. It was really good. The loaf, it's funny how strong celery's taste is, and that used to bug me a lot. I used to not like to have anything with celery in it just because that taste was so overpowering and was I always felt like it ruined a dish. But then last night, that loaf tastes amazing. Definitely had a great flavor to it. Carrie's checking in saying, hey, Carrie, I hope everything is going great at home today with the kids. But that was our dinner last night. I did try to not snack too much, but I did just buy a bag of mangoes and cashews from Costco. So those are around the house, which means they are in my mouth. Because if it's in your house, it's in your mouth. And I try not to eat too much of those, but I did have some last night. I'm trying to think if I had any more food of substance. You know, the oranges. Carrie bought another bag of oranges, picked through some of those. Probably had 3 oranges of the small kind of oranges. They were really good. But other than that, that was, and then cherry juice. I drink cherry juice all the time. We get the cherry juice from Costco, comes in a big 64-ounce container, like $6. I love it. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, because I have seen lots of information that talks about how, especially the cherry juice I get now because it's Montmorency cherries, but that cherry juice helps reduce inflammation. And I have noticed such an incredible change in myself. Really, it's been because of the reduction of inflammation. I think that there's a lot of things that cause us issues that really the issue is the inflammation. And they talk about that. I believe it's in the Pleasure Trap book, where we have all these things that we add itis to, like tinnitus is the inflammation of your tendons. And I can't think of any other itises right now, but really it's just that is the, it's really driving me nuts. I can't think of any other ones right now. If anybody can think of any other other than arthritis, or yeah, arthritis is swelling of your bones, or the I guess between your bones, tendonitis, and think of any other ones. So um but that's why I really like the cherry juice, because I feel like it helps with any type of inflammation I have. And um that has been a big plus in my book so far doing this diet. Then this morning, really everybody was slow to get out of bed, so I just made some Ezekiel bread in the morning with some nut butter. Simple, easy breakfast. It's, fills me up in the morning, and then I had a big glass of cherry juice with that, and also a big glass of water, because that Ezekiel bread's pretty dry, and it makes it a lot easier to eat if you have a glass of water with you. Kind of take a bite, a little bit of water helps kind of soften it up and make it a little bit easier to eat. But that's really all I've had to eat since yesterday. Really enjoyed dinner, and breakfast was pretty simple this morning. And hopefully we have something wonderful for dinner tonight, but we'll find out when I get home what the plan is. I don't have a ton of stuff to talk about today, but I'm going to talk about how I lost 200 pounds in a year. It's been 6 months since I lost the 200 pounds, but I feel like, one of the greatest things about this whole challenge and everything is that I was able to lose that weight fairly quickly, and I've been able to maintain that weight, and then I've slowly been chipping away um at my weight since I got injured and been dealing with that. Carrie says that we're looking at maybe having mega veggie chili tonight, which would be awesome. Pretty simple to make, and one of our staples. We have that at least once a week, and because it's not super difficult to make, and you can kind of play with that recipe quite a bit to make it fit your own taste. It's just a lot of different cans of things thrown together, so that would be wonderful for dinner. So how did I lose 200 pounds in a year? Well, the first thing, the key to being able to lose 200 pounds in a year is you need to be 300 pounds overweight. That would be my first clue. I know that's not what you want to hear, but I do get asked a lot, how did I lose the weight? And for me, some of the keys for my weight loss this time versus previously is, or it has been, my dedication to my goal and to sticking with it. If in the past I would set goals for myself that I always felt were realistic goals, or I would have a goal that would be, I need to lose as much weight before we go on this trip, or I need to lose as much weight as possible before this wedding happens. And a lot of times those timelines were, 6 months out or 9 months out, or the weight goal that I set for myself to lose 50 pounds or 75 pounds were goals that I was able to lose within a shorter period of time. I could lose that weight in 6 months or 5 months. Whereas this time I set a goal that was so large that it would have been impossible for me to do it in 1 year. And so that caused me to have to stick with something for a year. In order to lose the 200 pounds in a year, I had to be dedicated to losing that weight the entire year. Anthony's checking in saying hello. Hello, Anthony. I hope everything's going great for you today. Um, so have the weight to lose, stick to it for the whole time, and I set a goal for myself to do this for 3 years. So doing it for 1 year is only a third of the way there. Um, and like I said, a lot of times I wouldn't set goals that were difficult. I would set goals that I felt were achievable or that I could hit. And so I'd hit those goals, and then you go out and you celebrate those hitting those goals by grabbing a dinner out to eat, and then that sidetracks everything or that screws everything up. So dedication is really the first key. I talk a little bit about not being so strict on yourself that you clear the chessboard or you quit with the ego trap video or the ego trap I talked about the other day. Um, but then really the first thing that was truly working towards the getting the pounds off was doing an extended water fast. And jumping in and doing an extended water fast is not something that I would recommend that anybody just goes in and does. Uh, I didn't just decide, hey, on November 1st, I'm going to go in and start water fasting and do it as long as I can. I had done water fasts over the previous 2 years. So I had done anywhere between some intermittent fasting, but like 3-day extended fasting up to a 30-day extended water fast within the 2 years prior to me starting this challenge. So it wasn't something that I just jumped into. I had an idea of what I was going to do or how it was going to be. I knew what the experience would be like a little bit going in. But as far as getting through the water fast and having the success of the water fast, a big key to that was the confidence that I had going in. And I gained that from doing smaller water fasts previously. But I also got confidence by looking up and watching videos of other people that had done extended water fasts. And I could see that it was a path that wasn't it was a path that was already traveled by others. I Maybe I've talked about this in the stream before, but I used to love going four-wheeling. I would travel all over the country. I've been to West Virginia, all the way out to Utah, down to Oklahoma, up into Wisconsin. I've gone all over the country four-wheeling. And one of the most difficult things when you go out and you're on a four-wheeler is you're on these trails, and every now and then you come to a trail that is just scary looking. And what I had to tell myself so many times before was, if the trail has been traveled enough that there's actually a, a set path, that there's actually a trail there, then that means that people have made it through that trail. There may be some cases where going up the hill is more difficult than going down, but for the most part, if you come along a trail and it looks like it's just as well used as the trail you're currently on, that means that most people made it up that hill. And that would give me a little bit of confidence knowing that I wasn't the first one trying to traverse this mountain, that I was the thousandth or I was the 10,000th person to try to go up that trail. And fasting was a little bit the same way. I was confident that I could do well with the fast, but I also knew that there are examples of hundreds of people doing similar length fasts to what I was planning on doing when I started this challenge. So, like I said, confidence is key when water fasting. Also, I found a lot of comfort in watching other people eat, not just like in person, but just watching on YouTube. If I felt like I was getting hungry, I would pull up a video of somebody doing a food challenge at a restaurant and watch them eat. And for whatever reason, psychologically, that seemed to help a little bit. Also, anytime I got real hungry, I would drink some water that would help satisfy some of those cravings. Um, but with the fasting, I think that the biggest thing you have to do is you have to listen to your own body, because there are some people that can fast longer than other people. And again, it's not something that you just jump into. You might not be able to water fast for very long right now, but if you did multiple water fasts over the course of a year, by the end of that year, you might be able to go as long as I did, or do uh, more than you started at. Um, and so for me, I water fasted from November 1st, 2020 till December 12th. So I did 1,000 hours of water fasting. It was longer than I anticipated doing. But in that time period, I went from 519.8 pounds to 430 pounds. So I dropped 90 pounds in a 42-day period. It was amazing. That is the fastest I've ever lost weight. If you want to check out that experience, go back to my first videos, because I started this channel when I started my weight loss uh, journey here. When I began doing this, is I started the channel at the same time to create that accountability, which is another thing that helped me lose the weight, is that I created an accountability platform for myself that was outside of my own head or my own family circle. I had people coming and watching my videos and making comments, and I felt a need to continue on to try to help those people that were finding inspiration in myself. After I, or actually during the water fast, and when I started this challenge, I knew I needed to figure out a plan for when I got done with the water fast. So while I was fasting, my goal was to educate myself. And that would be my next kind of tip to getting to your goals, is that you have to continue to educate yourself on the way that you're choosing to eat, or the lifestyle choices you're making, because it will continue to strengthen your resolve, and it will continue to give you the, again, confidence to keep going on. The If I would not have read a dozen plus books in the past year and a half, I might have thought that I was the only one out there living this lifestyle this way. Now I can see that there are people that are writing books about eating a whole food plant-based SOS free diet, and or there's people that are just writing books about having a whole food plant-based diet, which is not something that I had considered going into this challenge. With that in mind, I was very open-minded when I went into this challenge. I didn't have these preconceived notions in my head that this is what I'm going to do, this is what I have to do to lose weight. And through the process, I've continued to be open-minded. I didn't have if I didn't have an open mind, and I didn't seek to continue to educate myself, I would not have discovered the way of eating that I landed on. And even within this way of eating, I've played around with adding some foods like avocado or the 0 calorie sweeteners, and realized that those aren't effective for me to continue to lose weight. So I was open about introducing them. I was open about getting rid of them as well. I didn't sit here and say I have to be able to figure out how to lose my weight and still have those things in my diet. It was, I need to figure out how I can fit my diet to give me the results that I want to have. Because, like I say in the title of this, a big part of all of this for me was that I want to lose the weight through my diet. I didn't gain the weight because I wasn't going to the gym. I gained the weight because I was eating 6 to 10,000 calories a day. So I needed to figure out a way not be eating 6 to 10,000 calories and to be satisfied. And before this challenge, I never was able to get those two things in line. Now, because of the education that I've continued to do, I understand things like calorie density, and and that has completely changed the way that I approach food on a day-to-day basis. So after my water fast, I lost 90 pounds. During my water fast, that period, I lost 90 pounds. I continued to educate myself. And that's when I discovered a whole food, plant-based, SOS free diet. And what SOS free means is that means that I do not have any added salt, oil, or sugar in the food, either in the preparation while making it or after. We don't put any salt or sugar on the food before we eat it. That diet has been the key that I've been trying to figure out for the last 20 years of my life. The diet allows me to eat a very large volume of food without having it be a very high calorie count. In the past, I would eat 4 or 5 pounds of food, or maybe even more, and those pounds of food would average out at like 1,500 calories. Now my pounds of food are averaging out at 600 to 700 calories, so that when I get a full stomach, I'm not I'm at a lower calorie total than if I was eating the other foods that I used to eat. And switching over to a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet sounds like it would be horrible. It sounds just restrictive. It sounds awful, but it's not the case at all. It's really the opposite. And before, when I was eating the standard American diet, my diet was actually probably more restrictive then, because I was just eating kind of the 3 or 4 main meats: chicken, beef, and pork, and then sugar and salt. That was like my diet. Like there was some vegetables thrown in for taste, but my diet was not near as diverse as it is now. I showed a photo of the Linda's meatloaf from Engine 2 that I had for dinner last night. That meal alone probably has 7 to 10 different ingredients in it. Um, that many of those ingredients were things I would not have eaten before. Like I mentioned, the celery that was in it. There's also green lentils, or things that I would not have even. We never bought a lentil prior to us starting this diet, and now we have them multiple times a week. We never had chia seeds or hemp seeds in our house before. Now those are things that are in our house regularly. And really, the big awesome things that are in our house regularly now are just the fruits: the bananas, the apples, and the oranges. They're always a great snack to go to, and they almost always are satisfying. Sometimes you get a bad orange. Like I've said before, that's sort of like getting a bad batch of fries at the fast food place. They may suck, but you're still going to eat them. And that's the way I feel with oranges. Sometimes they may not be as good as the last orange you have, but they aren't so bad that you're going to throw them away. Sometimes you do, but um, you do the same thing with fries that are over salt, that are soggy. They've been sitting out so long. Um, Sometimes you suffer through and you eat them anyways. But the biggest thing about switching to the whole food, plant-based, SOS free diet, like I said, from the outside, if you're not eating this way, it seems like a crazy notion. But once you switch to this way of eating, and because I was open-minded about things, I allowed myself to adapt eating this way. And that is one of the keys that allowed me to stick to this diet, is that I didn't quit right away. I could have easily, after doing this for 1 week, been like, you know what, this food sucks. I don't want to keep eating this way. Let's switch over to a Mediterranean diet or go to a paleo diet like I thought I was going to kind of go to when I started this. And because I allowed myself to adapt to those flavors, I was able to realize that there's a lot of flavor in these foods that gets lost because we put salt on it or we have added oil and sugar. And it's been really an amazing thing to have foods that were my least favorite foods, that I would take off of sandwiches, that I would ask for meals without, now become my favorite parts of those meals. The biggest example I can think of is cucumbers. I absolutely hated cucumbers, loved pickles, hated cucumbers. Wouldn't try them, didn't care for them. I don't know. I just didn't like them at all. Now, when we have a big bowl salad, that's the part that I look forward to. That water that I get from that cucumber, that flavor that I get from it, that's what I look forward to when I have a salad. Also in my head, a carrot too, as hot as it is, I really like that in the salads. But um so that is really the allowing myself to try a new diet, be open to that diet, and then to give myself the time to adapt to those new flavors and the changes of that diet. And then while I'm adapting, while I'm doing this, I didn't stop my education either. So from the beginning of this, I continued my education. That's how I've been able to get through 10 to 12 different books on this topic of eating a whole food plant-based diet. Read some motivational books or some other books that were like a biography, but for the most part, the books that I've been reading for the past year have been about educating myself about this diet. Not just educating myself about the diet. I also or not just reading the books, but I have watched videos, Forks Over Knives, The Game Changers, Milked. There's lots of videos out there that talk about um, eating this way. And then another thing that helped keep me kind of on this path, particularly, is looking into how animals are treated on farms, realizing that I can survive without having to use animal products in any way was something that I never considered before I started this challenge. And because of the education that I've continued to do, I've learned these things and they've improved my life over the past year. So during that next 10 and a half months after I did my water fast, I stuck to my whole food, plant based, salt, oil, sugar free diet. And over the course of that 10 and a half months, I was able to lose an additional 110 pounds. So almost or over 10 pounds a month while eating a whole food, plant based diet. I have been extremely amazed that I was able to maintain a good weight loss and do that for such a long time. In the past, um, I've lost the weight, 5 months, I've lost 50 pounds, 60 pounds, maybe. And then by month 7, I've gained 40 pounds of that back. And, you know, this diet has allowed me to lose that weight, lose it at a good pace. A lot of times, too, is you might lose that 50 pounds in that first 4 months, but then month 5 hits and you only lose 3 pounds. And then you get really discouraged because you haven't lost as much weight as you were losing. And then you start blaming the diet, and there could have been a lot of things. Um, the other, and so that's really the keys for me is that you have to have the dedication to do it. You have to be open-minded about any possibilities, and you have to continue to educate yourself so that you can keep that resolve that you had going forward. For me, I'm actually 6 months past that 1 year mark. I've still been able to chip away at the weight a little bit. It's been slow. I got injured and I fell a little bit off of the salt, oil, sugar free wagon there for a little bit, but I rededicated myself in the past 2 months to being salt, oil, sugar free. And I've been able to get another 22 pounds off the last couple months. So it's been an awesome experience so far. I never would have thought that would have been able to lose 200 pounds in a year. And to look back on it now, how effortless it really felt in the end. There were times that were difficult while I was water fasting to get through some of those moments, but now looking back at the experience, I'm happy for every moment that I've had over the past year or that I had over that year. And it helped create a great foundation for the rest of my life because this is a maintainable diet. So many times in the past, the diet I was doing wasn't maintainable. It wasn't. I would wake up hungry, I'd go to bed hungry, I'd spend all day hungry. And that was not something that was ever going to be a long lasting solution to my problems. Now I go to bed full, I wake up, I feel good, I don't feel hungry, I'm not starving in the morning. If I have to skip a meal, I have the confidence that I will not die because I went 42 days without eating and I didn't die. So if I have to skip a meal because I can't find anything that's compliant, I have the confidence to get through those moments. And I've learned a ton over this whole time. And then I guess the only thing that I had on my list, I mentioned it earlier, but I didn't just list it, is creating an accountability platform for yourself. Either doing something like this, start an Instagram channel where you just post pictures of the scale or pictures of the food you eat, or you can find there's a link down below for a group called Foodways. That's a great spot where you could go and find a group of people that are trying to eat a whole food plant-based diet, and they have great support, lots of people posting recipes and what they eat every day on that kind of site. um Anthony asked if I have any suggestions for dressings for salad. I love our mustard dressing. I'm sure Carrie has it shared somewhere. But the only thing that is a little bit kind of on the fence with that is we use maple syrup. But you could swap a date syrup out for the maple syrup, and I'm sure it would be just as good. It just gives it some sweetness. So for me, it's a mustard dressing. That would be my recommendation. Carrie did also make like an apple based dressing that kind of had a vinegar feel and taste to it. That was really good too. I was nervous about having a different dressing, but I really like that dressing. There was some other things, Carrie's made a few other things that would probably be good on a salad too. The sour cream that she made the other day, I think that's great on anything. It's got kind of a little bit of an oniony garlic flavor. Um, and then, some of my earlier salads, I use just kind of like lemons or lime, kind of just simple things to put on the salad. But overall, our favorite thing is the maple Dijon salad dressing. Carrie just said that if you check out the Pinterest page, you can find the maple Dijon salad dressing that we love. Also, there's a magical applesauce salad dressing that is very much like a balsamic. And that's really just everything I just said, only in better, more concise words. So, um, that would be the recommendations on the salads. And eat big salads. Don't hesitate to have a bigger salad if you can, and that would be the thing for me. Um, and then I don't know if I said this, but really the greatest thing that's happened for me is that in the past 6 months, I've been able to maintain the weight and slowly get a little bit off. Anthony says you need to post those on the Discord so he can see them. Yeah, that shouldn't be too tough to do that. Carrie says if you have an olive oil balsamic shop near you, you can get some flavored balsamics that would probably be amazing. And she says she keeps meaning to pick some up. I think there is also a company like the California Balsamic Company that they sell balsamic vinegars that are SOS free. But I think that's gonna be here for all the information. Dare Jones says, well, good. I hope you get a chance to listen to everything I talked about for the last half hour, because I am going to be getting out of here now. But yeah, I'm gonna go home and have a good weekend. I hope you guys all have a good weekend. I hope the weather is nice so that we can actually get some stuff done outside of the house. I know Carrie's going to be gone with the girls to a baby shower, so I'm going to have a little guy time with my son tomorrow. But I hope everybody has a great weekend. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, get subscribed to the channel, click on that bell icon so you'll get alerted when I go live. Also, make sure you like this video. If you haven't started your diet yet, get started right now. There's no reason to wait. There's nothing coming up that's more important. We just had St. Patty's Day yesterday. It's over. St. Patty's Day's done. I think the next thing coming up is Easter. If you start right now, see when Easter is. I'm going to look it up live here. Let me see. Easter is 2020 is April 17th. You got 30 days. If you start your diet right now, when Easter comes around, that'll be 30 days from now. When you go to your Easter dinner or whatever you go to and you get tempted by something, you can sit there and say, I've been on my diet for 30 days. I'm not going to let this Cadbury egg tempt me. I'm too happy with how things are going. It's so much harder to have that same mentality if you decide to start the diet the day before Easter. If you can say I have 30 days under my belt, it gives you much more power against those temptations than if you say I have 1 day under my belt, because you're just going to be like, well, I only blew up 1 day worth of progress, whereas the other way, this whole month I've been on, I've lost 20 pounds. I feel great. All those things help get through those things like having an Easter dinner. So get started right now. Nobody gets to their goal and says, man, I wish I would have waited. I wish I would have waited till after Easter. That Easter 2020 would have been awesome if I wouldn't have been on a diet. Nobody said that. Dare says, yes, we tend to say we'll start on Monday all the time. Don't start on Monday. Start today. Start right now. Go home or go to your pantry. Throw the junk food away. Go to the grocery store. Pick up some fresh food. Get started right now. Don't fall for the myths of moderation, the myth of moderate consumption. They say everything in moderation, right? That's not everything in moderation. If you continue to allow little bits of junk food into your diet, you're never going to be able to get rid of the junk food. You're also, the myth of moderate consumption, that you're going to just eat half a portion. You can do that. It's awesome. And you feel great. Like you conquered the world when you order a dinner out and you only eat half of it and you put the other half in a to-go box and then you take it home and then you eat it that night or an hour later. But it feels great when you can say, I cut myself off and I showed, what's the word I'm looking for? I showed strength in being able to cut myself off at half the meal. And you can do that for a day, a week, a month, for a little while. But after 2 months of doing that, it gets old. You start to realize that you're not satisfied unless you're eating all of it, or the half you saved, instead of waiting until the next meal to eat it, you're eating it an hour later and then you're not having another meal. So have willpower. Sure. That's a good word. I probably should have used. So don't fall for the myth of moderate consumption. Don't fall for the myth of moderate change. I know it's great to think, I'm going to start eating salads before dinner and eventually I'll become a salad eater and I'll start loving salads. It's a great wish to have. But at the end of the day, you need to make big changes. If you want to see big changes in your life, you have to make big changes. And switching from the standard American diet to a whole food plant based diet is quite possibly that change you need to make. So I'm going to get out of here, guys. I hope you all have a great weekend. I will be on Monday. I will be back live. So talk to you guys later.